to grow in confidence and leadership. In addition to her leadership roles, she is also a financial advisor, helping people to make informed financial decisions for a secure future. I will now pass on to Joyce Kibe. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Officer, and good day, Toastmasters and guests, and especially from Kenya, where it is evening at 4:30 precisely. I'm elated today to be your Toastmaster of the day, and as we dock this ship, I invite you as we discuss this pertinent topic, leading with influence. It touches my heart that every one of us here as self-directed leaders, we are working to becoming better leaders by the day. So what do we mean when we say we are leading with influence? So true leadership is not about the power of your position. It's about the impact that you're having on people. And if I may ask you to just meditate a bit, what is the style of your leadership? What impact are you bringing wherever you are? One thing I need to touch on is that influence inspires commitment. It builds trust and motivates others to act willingly. When you're an influential leader, you do not need to keep on pushing people around. People will just show up because they are motivated. You're giving them the audience to actually express what they are able to do. It also makes them have that personal responsibility, as opposed to authority, which only compels compliance. True leadership focuses on the ability to inspire, to motivate, and to guide others through character and communication. I'm reminded of a meeting that we had earlier in the week, the presidential team. We were discussing about leaders and communication. How do we communicate to the people that we are leading? Influence touches very closely with communication. And also, are we leading as an example where you are, or you're just giving orders? Be a person where you're leading by example rather than authority or position. True influence also recognizes true leadership, and it also earns through trust, credibility, and positive impact. Let me just quote something that I saw somewhere, that most effective leaders are not those who command people, but those who inspire people to follow, as this will help you wherever you are as a leader. Some of the key leadership principles that I want us to think about, even as we are taking up our meeting today, is that lead by example. I can't overemphasize on this. Another thing is about building trust. Trust is the foundation of influence, consistency, honesty, and reliability. It strengthens leadership effectively. We also have something called communication with purpose. Are you clear? Are you authentic? Are you inspiring in everything that you're doing? Also, empower others, like Bram is doing. He's empowering each and every person in the EXCO team, each and every person in this room, to show what you have, your strengths, to make this club even better. Great leaders help others discover their potential and they succeed. They also create positive impact. Influences should leave people better, stronger, and motivated. And just to ask you, as your leader, what legacy are you building on? When you're long gone, what will people think and what will people remember you about? And now, moving swiftly to the meat of our meeting, I will welcome our toast. Our toast today is Kanav Hurria. Kanav, welcome to the virtual stage, and give us a toast so that we may be able to proceed with this meeting. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Joyce, and good evening, everyone. In many places, leadership begin with a title, President, CEO. But here at Leadership Speak, leadership begin with a choice to take ownership, a choice to step forward, a choice to make a difference. Because every one of us is a self-directed leader. Influence isn't about telling people what to do. It's about showing them what can be achieved. It's built every day through integrity, through consistency, through our willingness to listen and to be an example for others. The most influential people are not the loudest person in the room. They are those who inspire confidence, build trust, and help others become better. When we lead with influence, we don't wait for authority to tell us what we do. We create impact through the relationships, through the connection we make. And with that note, I would request everyone to unmute your microphone, switch on your cameras, and raise the toast with leading with influence.
Leading with influence.
Leading with influence.
Thank you, Kanav. When I ask Kanav about something that is interesting about him, he says he loves reading book. And one thing that touched me, he said, when he's doing nothing, or rather when he's resting, he's boring. I'll take it up after the meeting to just realize what that exactly means. And now to the person who will be watching how we are spending our time in this meeting, I will welcome NSK Naidana. He's one of our newest member, and I am glad to be having him as a timer in this meeting. Over to you, NSK.
Dear Toastmasters, I hope you all have a good day. I am timer for today. I will time each speaker according to the agenda, signaling virtual background colors like green, yellow, and red. After each segment, I will post the time results in the chat. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, NSK. And to our grammarian, who will be checking how we are doing with our grammar, is our queen of coffee, as we refer to her here in the leadership speak, and I'm still waiting for my packet, by the way, Rosie. Over to you, Rosie, to tell us what your role is this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. The word of the day today is captivate. Captivate is a verb. It means to attract and to hold the interest and attention of. It could also mean to charm. The use of captivate in a sentence, I'll give an example. The guest used interesting stories to captivate the audience. I encourage everyone to use the word captivate in your speeches and in all your deliberations. Thank you very much. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam Grammarian, and I'm looking forward to a captivating meeting this morning. And now to the meat of the meeting. I want to welcome our education speaker on the virtual stage, Irene Sadia. And again, just to mention what I asked Irene, something that is interesting about her. She said leadership has never been something that is really something she's sorting. She's something that she's been on the background for a long time. But being a firstborn, she didn't have a choice. She had just to show up. And to introduce her, is our Queen of Coffee again, Rosie Rana. She will be her evaluator, introducing her to tell us what her project is. Over to you, Rosie.
Fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen, Irene today is delivering what I believe will be a captivating presentation. This is a keynote type speech, and the purpose of the project is also her learning goal, which is developing and presenting a keynote speech and maintaining consistent energy throughout her delivery. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Irene Sadia, lead with influence, lead with influence. Irene Sadia, over to you.
If my title disappeared tomorrow, would any of the people who follow me still choose to follow me? I had just been promoted a few years back. I was excited, and I wanted to show the organization how appreciative I was of the confidence that they had placed in me. And so I wanted to do a good job. And so one of the most seasoned leaders in the organization came over to me. He smiled, shook my hand, and said, "Congratulations." And then lowered his voice. "One piece of advice. You are the boss. Do not let anybody take advantage of you." He laughed. I didn't know whether to laugh. I didn't know what to do. But I thought he is more experienced and this must be wisdom. So I will take it. So Monday, the next week, I walked into the office with every intention to show who is boss. I was very clear in my head. I was going to give clear instructions, expect quick responses, and if anybody questioned my decision, I would explain very quickly why my decision was the right one. I would correct mistakes quickly, make sure deadlines were honored on time. I thought that I was building a disciplined team. What I didn't realize was I was building distance between my team and myself. Let me ask you something. Have you ever worked for somebody who always had the answers? As soon as you started to speak, they would interrupt you or would be listening just for the cue to quickly jump in and do what? Tell you that you were wrong. Now, I don't want you to raise your hand, but just think about that person. Second question. Have you ever been that person? I have been that person. You see, authority is a really interesting thing. It works. People obey you, deadlines are met, meetings happen, everything seems to work like clockwork. Reports get submitted on time. On the outside, it looks successful. In fact, if anybody, even my manager included, if he passed by the team, he would look at and wow, what a productive team. However, what he would not see was what authority was stealing from us. Authority was quietly stealing creativity. It was quietly stealing initiative. It was stealing curiosity. And little by little, it was stealing our conversations. So my team stopped bringing their ideas. They stopped asking questions. They stopped even disagreeing with me. And I thought, finally, we are all on the same page. Today, I know better. Because when nobody asks questions, nobody challenges the leader, one of two things happens or has happened. Either the leader has become perfect, or people have stopped believing that whatever they say is worth speaking. And I can assure you, I wasn't perfect then, and neither am I perfect today. So several days later, several weeks later, we had another problem. Not anything disastrous, but it was important enough to captivate our attention to get a solution. So I quickly gathered my team together, explained the situation, and asked them, what do you think? Silence. I waited. Still more silence. I looked around the room at these 6 intelligent people with many years of experience between them. Not a single suggestion, not a single question, not even a disagreement, just silence. It felt like so many minutes had passed. Yet I know it was probably just seconds. So I did what I knew how to do. Solved the problem myself. The meeting ended. And everybody quietly walked out. And I sat there alone. And for the first time, that silence didn't feel very comforting. It was a silence of fear. I sat there looking at the flip charts, looking at the coffee cups that had not been collected. And a thought entered my mind that I had never thought before. I thought I had a team. But really what I had was compliance. That realization hurt. Not because my team had failed me, but because I had failed them. I had spent weeks and months trying to become a stronger leader. And without realizing it, I had become someone who people worked for, instead of someone people wanted to work with or work alongside. That evening, as I drove home, questions raced through my mind. And I asked, if my title disappeared tomorrow, would any of these people still choose to follow me? I didn't need anyone to answer that question because I already knew the answer and I didn't like it. I wish I could tell you that the moment I realized the problem, I changed like instantly. Truth is, change is never dramatic. It's not instant. It takes time. And so I kept asking other questions. What if they're not following me? They're only following the title. And so when I don't have the title, they will no longer follow me. The next morning, when I went to work, nothing had changed. It was still the same furniture, same desks, same chairs, same title. But what I knew had changed was I couldn't hide behind my title anymore. I started to ask, what kind of leader am I becoming? Am I the leader who only wants results, wants people to perform better? I knew there was something more that I could offer than just reports. I want to be the leader who, when people leave my office, when people leave my corner, they don't leave feeling smaller. They leave feeling stronger. And that question became my mirror. Like in the words of, I started to look at the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror. And I didn't like what was in the mirror. And so a memory came back to me. And I thought of my father. He always had people around him. Young people, little children, his peers, older people. Always wondered, why did he always have to have such a crowd around him? I didn't know then, but later on, I realized that one of the reasons why so many people gravitated around him was because he listened. When things went wrong at work, at home, he didn't lash out. He called you aside to understand what didn't work well, or why did it go wrong? How could he help you do better? In fact, I remember as children, when any of my siblings would say, I will tell on you to dad, I'd be like, right ahead. Because I knew he wouldn't be tough. So I realized that he didn't intimidate. He didn't need to put anybody down. In fact, he protected. He didn't embarrass. He listened to understand. So coming back to me, as I sat there thinking about my father, I thought, how could I borrow from his lessons? How could I borrow from what I had seen him do? So, of course, as in any organization, any establishment, problems will pop up again. And this time, called my team into the meeting room and asked and explained that this is what we have. There's a problem. What do you think we could do better? And as I'm waiting, I'm thinking, I don't want to become a nicer boss. I want to become a better listener. I want to be more affirming. I want to be able to ask the right questions. I want to understand before I correct. Now, all that is very simple on paper. In reality, it was a hard habit for me to break because I had been so captivated by being the person with the answers. And if you know such a person, or if you've been such a person, have you noticed how it feels good to be right? Have a solution to the problem? But then I realized that I was the only one making decisions. My team was dependent on me. Yet, leadership isn't about creating people who will always need us. Leadership is about creating people who can succeed without us. And that changed everything. So back to the problem. I'm waiting. Still silence. And then one small voice said, I think. It was cautious, but they spoke anyway. It wasn't a great idea, but something remarkable happened in that room. Another member of the team added and built on that idea, and then another, and then another. And so the room that had been silent was now alive with voices. People weren't waiting for permission anymore. They were thinking, they were contributing, they were leading. And I sat there watching. I realized that leadership is not about having the best answers. Leadership is about asking the best questions. Let me ask you something. Think of someone who changed your life. Was it because they impressed you with their title? Or was it because they believed in you? What did they give you? Was it advice? Was it knowledge? Or was it even something more valuable like confidence? The confidence to try, the confidence to fail, the confidence to grow, the confidence to become, and the confidence to influence. Because influence is not something we demand. Influence is something that is deposited. We deposit one conversation at a time. Influence is an act of trust. Influence is a moment of encouragement, one at a time. Excuse me. And so over the months that followed, my team became stronger, not because I was the smartest, but because I became safer. They now would bring problems to me. Instead of bringing problems to me like they did before, they would come and tell me, this is what's going on and this is what we think. So now there was free sharing. They challenged my thinking. And interestingly, I actually welcomed it. Because I learned something that no title could ever give me or could ever teach me. That people don't give leaders their best because the leader knows everything. They give leaders their best because those are the leaders who help them become something they never believed they could be. Transformation didn't happen in a week, in a month. Excuse me. It rarely does. Trust is built one conversation at a time. Trust is built when a promise is kept. Trust is built when a difficult conversation is handled with dignity. And it leaves the person feeling that or believing they matter. And little by little, people no longer waited for me to solve problems. We solved them together. They came to my office not because I told them, but because they wanted to. They brought ideas, they brought their concerns, brought their dreams. In fact, one afternoon, a member of my team knocked on the door. He wasn't there to report a problem. He wasn't there to ask for permission or approval. He said, "Do you have time to talk?" I said, "Sure, sit down." And so we didn't talk about work. We talked about his career, talked about his dreams, his family, his hopes. And when he stood to leave, he paused and said, "Thank you for listening." That was it. 5 words. Thank you for listening. After he left, I thought of how months before people came to me because they had to. And now they came because they wanted to. I realized that influence begins when people realize that you're listening to them. It's not when they think they have to listen to you. And so my earlier questions are, how do I become a better boss? Were replaced by, how do I become a better human being? Because leadership is simply humanity practiced consistently. For you who's listening to me today, who has changed your life? Picture that person. Was it their title? Was it your teacher? Was it a parent? Was it a mentor? Was it a fellow Toastmaster? Do you remember most about them? Is it their title? Or is it how they made you feel? You felt encouraged. You felt respected. You felt capable. You felt safe enough to try, safe enough to fail, safe enough to get up and grow. That is influence. Influence does not announce itself. It quietly changes lives. And so one day, the title you and I hold today will go on to somebody else. Someone else will become the manager, the president. Someone else will occupy your office. Someone else will be signing the emails you signed. Someone else will chair the meetings. Titles are temporary and they are borrowed. But influence is owned and its legacy, it's permanent. So many years from today, I doubt people will remember how many meetings we chaired, how many reports we signed. Won't even remember the authority we exercised, but they will remember how we made them feel valued, how we believed in them, how we gave them courage, and whether we left them stronger than when we found them. A quote by John C. Maxwell is, "Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less." For years, I admired that quote, but now I understand it because I've lived on either side of that quote. I have experienced the loneliness of authority, and I have experienced the joy of influence. I have filled my meetings with silence. How authority filled my meeting with silence. Influence filled my meetings with voices. Authority made people complete tasks. Influence made people believe they mattered. Authority made me the boss. Influence allowed me to become a leader. So when you leave this meeting today, you go home, go to work, meet friends, meet your family. Will you ask this question? When this conversation ends, how will this person be feeling? Will they be feeling smaller? or will they be feeling stronger? So when I started my conversation today, I started with a confession. I didn't start off really well. I believe that leadership is about being the boss. I couldn't be more wrong. I have learned that leadership is about influence. It's the confidence we build, the examples we set, the lives we quietly change. So I leave you with the question that changed my leadership. If your title disappeared today, would people still choose to follow your example? Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Irene. We couldn't have put it better. When our title goes away, what will you be remembered for? And will people still follow you even after your leadership? Leadership is not about having all the answers, but asking the right questions. Our guests, I hope you're learning and you're enjoying our meeting thus far. And I'm requesting our PR master to kindly post our guest book and kindly get some time and fill it. And we are going to engage you towards the end of the meeting. Our first speaker this evening is Rashmi Udeshi. When I asked Rashmi about something that is interesting about her, as all of you know, she's an accountant and she loves arts. And one thing that she says it's quite a challenge for many people to believe is that there are two different worlds, that one demands precision, being an accountant, and other, creativity. And before I invite our evaluator, in one sentence, Rashmi, tell us, what is your understanding of lead with influence?
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Irene. Leading with influence is leading with action. Through action, walk the talk. That's leading with influence. Thank you.
Absolutely. And welcoming our evaluator, Hannah Schmidt, the ever-smiling lady. Kindly tell us what Rashmi's project is all about.
Yes, Madam Toastmaster. Rashmi is presenting from Presentation Mastery, Level 2. And the purpose of the statement is for the member to learn about different communication styles and identify her primary style. And the purpose of the speech is for the member to share the impact of her style on others. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. Rashmi Udeshi, Beyond One Voice, Rashmi Udeshi.
Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests. If I asked you one question today, how many voices do you have? You may note it down. And I, at first, thought it was just one voice. And thank you, many of you will have written one, some will have written two. But as I walked through my leadership journey, I realized it's not just one voice, but it's several voices and at different points of time. As club president of the Toastmasters Club, I realized for me, the biggest challenge was not about leading people, but the biggest challenge at that time that I had to overcome was about creating speaking slots. I will ask myself and our team, how can we create the speaking slots? And always I thought, but there's no time. Well, being a leader, it's obvious you find answers to that. And I propose that we increase our club meetings by half an hour. So we extended from 2 hours to 2.5 hours. This gave our club opportunity to have 5 speaking slots, 1 educational speaker, and along with the table topics. The whole situation was not that easy. I had to have an open discussions and to tell my members to give half an hour of their valuable time. It had to be convincing. We heard all perspectives and finally, with consensus of all, agreed. And finally, our club has meetings that run for 2.5 hours. Without realizing it, I had started using my dominant style and giving direction, persuading and making adaptation to the change. As I went on for wearing my other hat as an educator at my business entity, EduCraft Global. I have developed and curated programs like Storycraft, Voice Power Lab for empowering children. Children, like adults, don't think differently. They have the same fears. What if I'm not confident enough? What if I forget? And there, I realized education is not only about sharing knowledge, but it's about inspiring them. Through my initiating style, I empowered and inspired them. Wearing the next hat as a mentor to my mentees, my club members, when they are new, they are not always ready. They say, we are not ready. But there I am to support them to take the first baby step for the first speech, for the first evaluation, for the first Toastmaster of the day, first contest, first leadership role. And I realize I encourage them through my supportive style of communication. Having known this, I have done my communicative style assessment and I realized about my dominant styles as a triad. They are being dominant, and I realized that is presidency where I am provided direction with consensus. Being an educator, I'm an initiator where I inspire and captivate my children to take steps. And as mentor, I am there to support them, supportive and encouraging my members. And I realize at the same time, in the hat of district finance manager, I have to think differently. I have to think analytically. And there I have to rely on facts, figure, transparency, and accountability. So fellow Toastmasters and guests, it's not always one style that suits all. I have learned to adapt them, and having tried communication styles, I realized analytical was little dormant, and I saw the potential and we grow with our styles. As a leader, the best is now I ask myself not the question, what's your communication style? But I asked, what is the situation and will you be able to adapt to that situation? As sometimes they need direction, sometimes they need inspiration, sometimes they need encouragement, and sometimes analytical thinking. And yes, as a leader, we adapt and we lead, and not beyond different voices, but beyond one voice, we adapt. And over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashmi, and for reminding us that education is not just about sharing knowledge, but it's also about inspiring. Thank you for that. Our second speaker today is Hmok, and something interesting that you need to know about Hmok, that she fears snakes to the point that one day she dreamt about them and she fainted. I hope you can picture that she fainted on her sleep. And before taking on the stage, Hmok, kindly tell us in 45 seconds what leading with influence means to you.
Thank you, Joyce. I believe that leadership builds on trust and credibility, creates meaningful connections and lasting relationships.
Yes. And in evaluating Hmok to tell us what her speech title is about is Guerdah Felix. And we all know the last time that I was engaging her, we share something that is very common. We love playing volleyball. So I'm looking forward to one of these fine days where we can play together. Over to you, Guerdah, to tell us what her speech is all about.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome, guests. Today, Helen is working from Dynamic Leadership Level 2, Project 3, Introduction to Toastmasters, Mentoring. And the purpose of this project is for Helen to clearly define how Toastmasters envisions mentoring, and also for her to share some aspect of a previous experience as a protege. I have been captivated by Helen's willingness to learn and the fact that she asks questions. So today she's asked me to pay attention to a well-constructed content and effective delivery of her speech. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Helen, growing together, Helen, over to you.
Have you ever followed someone's advice so completely that you forgot to listen to yourself? I have. For many years, I believed that if someone was more experienced than me, I should simply follow their instructions without questioning them. I thought that's what respect. Looking back, I realized it wasn't respect, it was dependence. That belief led me to meet two very different mentors. One who unknowingly held me back, and another who helped me move forward. When I was working on my thesis at university, I admired my thesis supervisor. I trusted every decision he made. If he gave me another experiment, I started immediately, including working weekends. But there was one problem. There was no direction. When I submitted my first manuscript, weeks became months before I received feedback. Sometimes he even forgot what I had sent. I kept working harder, believing that effort alone would eventually lead to success. Instead, I felt confused, frustrated, and increasingly uncertain about my own abilities. At that time, I thought that was simply what mentoring looked like. Then everything changed. During my postdoctoral research, I met another supervisor. Because of the pandemic, we met in person only twice. Yet those online meetings transformed the way I work. I still remember sending him my first manuscript. Instead of correcting my writing, he asked a simple question. When do you need my comment? I was surprised. My previous supervisor for years never gave me a definite date, even though I asked him several times. That single question taught me something I had never learned during years of my careers. Respect is not only about demanding excellence, it is about respecting another person's time. From then on, every project had a clear deadline. Every discussion had a purpose. Every piece of feedback arrived when he promised. He didn't solve my problems for me. He helped me solve them myself. One day, I was applying for a research position. I was nervous. I kept talking about how qualified the other candidates were. He listened quietly. Then he said, "Focus on yourself." Those words changed my perspective. Instead of comparing myself with others, I began comparing myself with the person I had been yesterday. Although I didn't get that position, I reached the final stage of the competition. More importantly, I gained confidence that has stayed with me ever since. Looking back, I realized I actually learned from both supervisors. The first taught me what happens when guidance lacks clarity. The second showed me what true mentoring looks like. But the greatest lesson was not about them, it was about me. I used to think that finding a great mentor was mostly a matter of luck. Today, I believe it's something different. We don't simply find mentors, we choose them. And we can only choose quite wisely when we first understand ourselves. When we know our values, our goals, and the person we want to become, we recognize the people who can truly help us grow. A mentor cannot walk our journeys for us. A mentor cannot make our decisions. A mentor cannot become the person we are meant to be. Only we can do it. Mentors provide direction. We provide the determination. Mentors share wisdom. We choose whether to apply it. Mentors help us grow, but grow always begins with us. So today, I would like to leave you with one question. Who are you becoming, and who is helping you become that person? When we are willing to know ourselves, willing to learn, and willing to grow, the right methods don't simply appear. We recognize them. Back to you, TMOD.
Thank you, Helene, and for reminding us that we need to stop comparing ourselves and let us be our own competition. Our dear guests, I am sure you are having a captivating and enjoying our meeting thus far, and requesting our PR master or mistress in this aspect to post our guest book. Kindly take some time and fill it in, and we are going to engage you later in the meeting. Our third speaker is our secretary, Gilda Shlah. When I asked Gilda something interesting about her, and as you can note, she's always smiling, which is making us happy every other time, though she has traveled to over 10 countries since she was a child, and this makes it very easy for her to connect. I found this very interesting. And before I invite your evaluator, kindly tell us in one sentence what leading with influence means to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. Leading with influence is to communicate your vision clearly. Being able to make others seen and valued. Back to you.
Absolutely. And her evaluator is none other than Sonia. Sonia is another happy lady, bubbly lady. Sonia, welcome. Kindly tell us what Gilda's project is all about and what she'll be doing this morning.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, Joyce. Gilda's project is part of the Classroom Curriculum Influence, Level 4, Elective Question and Answer. The purpose of this project is for Gilda to deliver an informative speech and facilitate a well-organized question and answer sessions. When I connected with Gilda, she wanted me to watch out for the clarity in her speech. Is explaining the roles in leadership speed meetings and how she manages answering the questions. All the best to Gilda. You, this Master of the Day, Joyce.
Gilda Shlah, from innovation to practice, Gilda Shlah. Over to you.
I just want to make sure that my evaluator, speech evaluator, was heard by everyone. I will be delivering a speech, and then I will open the stage for questions and answers. Everyone could ask questions regarding what I'm speaking, and I will be answering the questions. Every influential leader reflects. They reflect what they've done. What went good to meet their vision? What needs to be built on to meet the vision? With that reflection, they innovate new options. At Leadership Speak, our leaders, including our founder, they reflected on the past few years and they looked at our achievement. Because Leadership Speak is the premium club for experienced Toastmasters to become better self-directed leader. Our vision is to prepare a ground place to prepare future leaders. This year, our founder created a role called presiding Toastmaster. And it's been a talk of every member. We all asked questions. We all wanted to know, what is this role? Is it an add-on? Is it taking other roles? Is it replacing other roles? No. This role is a truth to allow every member to go through the experience of practicing leadership. Leadership in practice. How does this role player accomplish that? They hold the frame of the meeting. What is the frame of the meeting? The person will start the meeting, open the meeting with clarity. Welcome members and guests. Make the connection. Introduces Toastmaster of the day and the General Evaluator. Ended up with the thought of the day. Ask guests for their feedback. The same guest he or she welcomed will connect with them and ask them about their experience and feedback. Closes the meeting with the clarity. Starting the meeting and finishing the meeting. But that's only what we see in the meeting. Prior to that is where the connection and the practice as well is done. The presiding Toastmaster connects with every role player. Make sure to serve every role, because leadership is stewardship and ownership. So the PTM, the presiding Toastmaster, is the person who will be serving and connecting with every role player. And it's a great practice place for leadership. Leadership Speak is been relying for the last few years on one or two members to hold the meeting. This year, with the vision of our Toastmaster, of our founder, he created this role to put everyone who wants to practice true leadership to become a true self-directed leader, given the opportunity to practice, to have the feeling, to be in the spot, connect with everyone, and own the feeling. This role, by creating this role, we elevated, actually the founder elevated other roles, which includes the Sergeant at Arms. The Sergeant at Arms has a bigger role than just introducing the Toastmaster of the day. They hold the coaching session. Our Sergeant at Arms, she holds the coaching session at the presidential team that was created as well this term, and coaching a session every Wednesday is a place where she, our Sergeant Arms, practicing true leadership and presence. Our Toastmaster of the day is, along with the educational speaker, they come up with a theme for the meeting. The theme is not sent to the president for endorsement anymore, or for agreeing that this theme meets the purpose of our meetings. They do the write-up. They come up with the theme with the help of the agent, the AI agent that was created by our founder. They will understand the importance of to have a theme that meets the club's vision. They do the write-up, the promotional write-up for the theme as well, instead of giving it to another member to do the write-up for the promotion. So getting more involved, truly internalize the role, beside, of course, what the Toastmaster role is, to be responsible for the meeting programs and start working weeks before preparing for it, from role players, agenda, and the smoothness of the role. Creating presiding Toastmaster, elevating other roles, is to make our vision come as reality. And every year our leaders would reflect more and innovate and create different roles to truly make us become better self-directed leader. And now I am done with my speech. I would like to ask the timer to start timing for the question and answer session. I will put the view on gallery, and anybody with a question, please put up your virtual hand and I will be ready to ask any question. I think we have Tony who is asking a question. So, Master, can you please spotlight Tony?
Gilda, thank you for explaining this to us. It's been introduced, but thank you for describing the what, why, and how. And Gilda, how are we going to measure progress along the way?
Absolutely. This is great question, Tony, and thank you. How are we going to measure progress? This role is a true practice on how we connect, how we influence others, especially the most valuable audience, our guests. This is what the presidential Toastmaster is practicing, the true, genuine connection and serving and making sure our meetings are conducted in whatever vision is to serve and to have excellent meeting and to connect. We will know by the reaction, by how many members will join, by the feedback we receive from members and guests. That's the only thing we could measure our progress. We are practicing to excel in this role, to become future leaders. A club cannot, or any organization, we cannot rely on 1 or 2 or 3 members to lead. We need everybody to practice leadership. And that's what our vision is, to become much better leaders.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
good.
dear.
Quality and quantity. That's pretty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see Bram, you have a question?
Yes. So my before I ask you a question, Gilda, just to clarify as well, is that, you know, at election time, towards the end of April, beginning of May, we started looking for officers at that time, and it doesn't really work, especially in an advanced club like ours where we are setting high standards. So the succession planning has started from July the 1st this year, rather than wait until next year, right? And then scramble around. So that is the reason we created the presidential team, from where we will have candidates, and they are practicing here. Now, as well as how we measure, Gilda is quite right. How we measure is the conversion of guests to members, and the members' journey through Leadership Speak at the end, and the education awards, and the membership, high retention, low attrition. Those are the measures. And it is not done by one person, but it is done by a whole team of people. I have found before, when I was in other clubs, people were not willing to learn these skills. And those clubs that did learn those skills excelled, and those clubs that didn't learn these skills failed miserably. Because after I left, you know, they failed. And I have a track record of creating clubs and increasing members and education awards wherever I walk into a club. Now, the question here is for you, Gilda. This has been in place now just about 3-4 weeks. How are you guys finding it? And is it steep learning, and what's going on? That was my question.
That's an excellent question, Bram, and thank you for asking. I was the first member who took this role, presiding Toastmaster. It was July 4th. I was assigned for this member to take it. I started feeling nervous, maybe thought I don't know what to do. At the end, I became more confident. That practice and connection made me more confident. The more we're gonna practice, the better confident and we become. And that's why we have that presidential team created for all the members who chose to be better self-directed leader and to be in the executive committee next year. It's the place for them to prepare themselves, to practice, to have the feeling of owning the meeting from the beginning to the end. We'll find out. Did I answer your question, Brett?
You did, and you added some extra explanations, which is excellent. Thank you so much, Gilda. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Anybody? Any concern? Any question? Every question is valuable because we are learning from all these questions as well. Rashmi?
Yes, thank you for explaining the role and having a good insight to this role. I had one question and which was about does it mean that by being on some of the committee, also you get an opportunity to be the presiding officer? I mean, you might look at, we might be considering that we would like to do, but you're not sure yet. So we are on a committee. So will that give us an opportunity to do the presiding officer role?
Absolutely. Rashmi, would you like to be the president of Leadership Speak next year?
I assume that this role gives you practicing for being on the expo committee, like, so it's
it is definitely a place and gives you the opportunity to practice to be a president, VP education, VP membership, VP public relation, and SAA. So, if any member is interested in enhancing their leadership and taking more responsible role, join the presidential team. Let the committee, the current committee, your interest. What would you like to learn? What are you committing yourself next year? And you will be practice. You will be put in practice. And yes, to answer your question directly, every member in the presidential team will have an opportunity to practice the presiding Toastmaster role.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, so I was, so there is another committee besides the current expo team committees. So you have to join a presidential committee. That's a separate committee.
It's presidential team group.
Okay, okay, thank
You're
you.
not in the presidential team group, Rashmi?
No, I am not, but I think I will ask you to add me.
Well, your name will be added. Our VP Education will add you right now. I welcome every member because we are here to become better self-directed leader. We lead, we innovate, we connect. That's who we are. If we don't practice, if we don't get out of our comfort zone and start practicing new roles, new responsibilities, how do we know if we're becoming better leaders or not? I encourage everyone to add their names or request for their names to be added to the presidential team. This is the place where you express what you like to learn, and the club will provide you the practice place. Bram, I see your hand is raised again. Let's see if
I just wanted to
anybody. Go ahead.
Clarify a couple of things here for you, Gilda. Is to be in the presidential team, you have to fill out a questionnaire. There's a form, and indicate your interest and agree to certain things as to be a self-directed leader and what it means really, before you can join the team. And we have about 27 people who joined the team anyways. I don't expect all of them will last the year, because some people think they're committed and then things come up and then they can't continue. So that's fine as well. But the main focus, Gilda, why I spearheaded that presidential team was, you're right, to create that core group that would create that's of a legacy, so that next year come April and May we are not struggling. And so there'll be a core, hopefully all of them, but we cannot train all of them to learn how to engage with guests and to convert guests into members and all. This is a long process. You can't learn it in just one meeting. It takes practice to be able to do that. So there'll be a few core people who will learn certain skills, and then of course other people will learn many other skills. That's why we have that. And in that group, quite a number of people have indicated that next year they want to be on the executive team in different positions, or trainers, or lead committees like the training group committee, right? Besides the VP of Education, they are the chief person who will be leading certain teams, which are very, very important to leadership speak, because we are a premier club for self-directed leaders. So those are the deeper explanations that we don't want to miss out. Thank you, Gilda, for the patience.
Thank you, Bram, and that is very true. Every member in the presidential committee have indicated their interest, and they have been put in a different committees. VPPR, Public Relation, has few people in her committee. That is itself a place to practice for that office. Even the secretary office, my office, I have 2 members in my committee. They are practicing for that role or that office. For by the end of the year, hopefully, I'm not going to have problem or struggling. Who's going to be the secretary? Who's willing to take this role? We will have it all. Well, my time is up. However,
you know what, Gilda, I would love for, if you don't mind, I know we'll be over time, but Tony has a very important question that we should hear. I know we'll be a bit over time, and you can take me off the screen. Remove me. Thank you.
It's actually a comment. Thank you, Gilda and Rob. It's actually a comment. Like everyone else, I've learned about this, through WhatsApp and from what I hear. And I have to say, this is very forward thinking. And I don't see this often. I don't see this even in corporations often enough. Nowhere near often enough. And for us to do this, it defines what vision means. After all, what does vision mean? It means look ahead, look around corners, over horizons. And we're preparing in advance. Phenomenal. This is great. This is different. This is leadership speak. Well done, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is the place to practice leadership, to become self-directed leader. We are experienced Toastmaster. We join this club to learn to be self-directed leader. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Gilda. We wouldn't have a better session to just understand what presiding officer is all about. And I look forward to each and every one of us participating and filling that form so that we can grow together as self-directed leaders. Our 4th speaker is Nthati. And when I asked Nthati what is interesting about her, she told me she joined military as a reservist. Wow. And before I introduce your evaluator, Nthati, please tell me what leading with influence is all about.
Good afternoon from South Africa, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Leading with influence, to me, imply that trust is key.
Mm-hmm.
Once you build trust, you have a potential to influence others.
Thank you, absolutely. And to introduce Nthati is Kanav. Kanav, kindly tell us what her project is all about. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Joyce. And Nthati is going to deliver level 3 project 3 of dynamic leadership with the objective of connecting with your audience. She will be delivering a speech which is unfamiliar to the audience, and she will be talking about that. She asked me to work upon the clear message, relatable takeaway, and time management and Zoom presence. So I'll be looking at those apart from the objective, which I clearly state. Right now, I'll be coming back when the general evaluator calls me. Back to the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Kanav. Nthati Mokhantso, the world that cost 50 million grand, the world that cost 50 million grand. Nthati Mokhantso, the virtual stage is yours.
Imagine 7 people around a table constituting a bid evaluation committee in boardroom 3. 50 million rand on the table. Yes, a tender for the rehabilitation of roads projects. One of the functionality requirements for awarding this tender was completion certificate. Fellow Toastmasters, a functionality requirement in South African public procurement system is one of the criteria used to test whether the tenderer can perform the work or not. Completion certificate. And yet, 3 hours later, that room still had not agreed on what those words meant. These 2 words that would captivate a room, paralyze a committee, and hold 50 million rand hostage for 3 solid hours. One member finally said, if you can play the recording of the briefing session and prove that bidders were told what completion certificate meant and that it meant final completion, I'll change my mind. Until then, minute my dissent and proceed. Another said, record my dissent too, because if completion certificate was not explained, then any completion certificate is acceptable. There was silence. A general word without qualification can lead to unintended results. The word completion does not have one meaning in the construction industry. It refers to practical completion, certificate of completion, and final completion certificate. When a tender document uses the general word without qualifying it, the bid evaluators have no authority to fill in the missing qualifier on their own. This is a constitutional matter, Section 217. Because how we interpret one word can determine who gets the 50 million rand contract and whether that decision can withstand a court challenge. Let us return to boardroom 3. The tender required bidders to submit a completion certificate for them to be awarded points for functionality. Easy? until we asked a completion certificate for what stage? Some around the table argued a completion certificate means completion. Project is complete, it's fully finished. Final completion certificate will be the one that will stand. It sounded easy, and probably still sounds easy. If a certificate says complete, it means complete. There's nothing else that needs to be done. But a different question was raised. Where in our tender document or in our briefing session did we tell bidders that completion certificate meant final completion and not any other form of completion? If we never said it, could we now score? No. This is where two anchors from our law came into play. First, being our constitution, the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, which requires that organs of state should contract for goods and services through a system which is fair, which is equitable, which is transparent, competitive, as well as cost-effective. The second one was a very popular court case of the Constitutional Court, which was between All-Pay Consolidated Investment Holding and the CEO of SASSA, South African Social Security Agency, the one that issues out grants to the indigent. This teaches us that a flawed process can invalidate the outcome, even a good outcome, if bidders were not evaluated on a very clear and consistently applied criterion. All we needed was precision. One committee member, an engineer, projected the general conditions of contract known as GCC. There it is. The heading read certificates. The GCC recognizes 3 stages, as I've already mentioned. Each stage has its own certificate, and each stage has consequences which are legal. Our tender document simply said completion certificate without naming which one. Then we accept any one of the 3. If we had done otherwise, what would happen? We would have violated Section 217 of the Constitution. We would have amended the tender conditions. Fellow Toastmasters, 3 certificates, 3 moments in the life of a contract, 3 different legal consequences, all 3 legitimately called completion certificate. And our tender document had specified none of them. We ultimately agreed in the end that all 3 certificate types will be accepted. Not because one side gave up to the other, but because the law read properly only ever pointed to one honest answer. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, a single misread word can cost a contractor a contract they rightfully won. It can just as easily expose one or the entire committee to allegations, to litigation, which will follow them for years. Next time, fellow Toastmasters, when we are handed a word without a qualifier, a general word, in a tender, in a contract, in a certificate, remember the room, boardroom 3, the silence, and that a word without qualification can lead to unintended consequences. Back to you, Madam.
Thank you, Nthati. Now we know the person to go to. If you want to apply for a contract, for a tender, you know the documentation, all the information that we need. Nthati is here to help you. The certificate of completion, anything that you need to know about tenders, we have somebody in the room who will be able to assist you in that. Dear guests, hope thus far you have benefited from the speeches that I've gone through. And I will come up here. Master, thank you very much. I can see she's already posted. Kindly go ahead and fill it. Our timer, kindly post the timings for the speakers. Thank you very much. Additionally, it's time to just vote for the best effort speaker. And as we are voting, let me just touch up on something about the theme. That leading with influence will necessitate you everywhere that you are, in everything that you're doing in your leadership journey. It's something that you need to embrace. And today, as we live here, let's own up. Let's own everything and own our journey. Our international president, Aleta Rochat, she wrote in her page recently that leadership is about creating an environment where others feel heard, respected, and comfortable contributing. Today, as we live here, we live with a renewed commitment to influence through integrity, inspire through action, empower through collaboration. Create a positive change wherever you are. And in every conversation, in every decision, in every interaction that you made, it's an opportunity to lead with influence, regardless of our role or title. Each of us has the power to make a difference. And as our education speaker said, I will leave you with this quote again to just emphasize on it from John C. Maxwell. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And now I'll be inviting Nelly Jane, our presiding officer, to take us to the next level. Over to you, Nelly.
Thank you so much, Joyce Kibe, our Toastmaster of the day. Now that we have witnessed powerful and inspiring speeches, it is time to move into the next segment of our meeting, the evaluation segment. And to lead us through this part of the program is a coach and our sergeant arms in the club. Someone who believes that leadership is about molding yourself into that kind of person others genuinely want to follow. And for her, influence doesn't come from a title, it comes from personal growth, character, and example we set every day. So, fellow Toastmasters, and our honored guest, let's help me welcome our general evaluator, Wahiga Gichinga. Over to you, Wahiga.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Again, good day to all masters and guests. In this session, we get to know how each role taker, each speaker understood the projects, how they interpreted it, and how they executed it. In this session, we have several evaluators who will be stage, and giving us an evaluation for each speaker starting those, and a little bit we will see and learn what happened today. First off, our first evaluator today to get the floor is one Paramjit Singh. Paramjit is a design development, NLP trainer and growth mindset coach.
Can we hear what Wahiga?
He is evaluating. Yes.
Okay. May start, Wahiga? Thank you. Thank you very much. Kanav, the purpose of your toast was very clear, and you beautifully honored the leaders who lead with influence. And you clearly highlighted the qualities of the leaders who lead with influence. You captured audience attention immediately when you said a very opening good remark that in leadership speak, it begins with your own choice. And you articulated it very well with a triad. Using a triad in the very beginning is really captivating for people. And you reiterated it also with a very wonderful quote, I will say. The influencer leaders are not the leaders who are the loudest, but they inspire confidence, bring trust, and help others become better. Wow. Now you presented a very confident toast using positive and respectful language, meaningful pauses, and you had a very clear voice with a very good vocal variety, and I could connect with your message very well, with your toast very well. To present a more captivating and emotionally connected toast, you may consider the following. What I felt that while you were sitting, you are watching on the watch, your eyes were moving from one side, either down or up, and maybe you are doing notes, but it was absolutely disconnecting you with the audience. So if for a toast, it's always better to stand up absolutely in the center of the Zoom position and deliver it with a confidence and emotional impact. The second thing which you can consider is you had a 1 minute, one more minute, a personal story and personal anecdote, or any leader who has influenced you in your life. His story would have made it more authenticated, your toast. To summarize, with your confidence, using positive language, with effective processes, personal stories, and standing up while speaking will transfer you to a speaker and a leader who will lead with influence. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Paramjit, for that detailed evaluation. You quoted several phrases, parts of the speech that Kanav gave and indicated the impact, highlighted what he could have done better, and gave practical solutions on how he could go about it. You had asked to check that you do your evaluation within the first 2 minutes. Unfortunately, it didn't quite fit in, but definitely the feedback you gave was valuable to Kanav. Thank you for that. Moving on to our second evaluator for today is evaluator for the Toastmaster of the day, who is Tony Blachich. He's evaluating Joyce Kibe. Tony is a charter club member of Leadership Speak and the parliamentarian for this club. Over to you, Tony.
Yeah, thank you very much. Joyce, your performance today demonstrated that effective meeting leadership begins well before the meeting itself. And now we know in this club, this is something that's mandatory with our club. And frankly, all of our Toastmasters of the day in the past have done this very well. I could see on WhatsApp that you started this preparation 10 days ago on July the 15th. You introduced the theme, leader with influence, You encouraged participants to connect with their trainers and speakers. You supported the practice process, and you followed up with clear reminders. So you definitely lived up to the club's gold standard of TMOD preparation. Well done. Again, in WhatsApp, your messages this morning created anticipation because you position yourself as the captain preparing the ship to leave the dock. And during the meeting, you opened up with inspiration, not command. Lead by example with trust. That's how you started. And you brought the theme of leading with influence to life, I thought, by engaging with the role players through transitions. For example, Joyce, you warmed up each speaker by asking them to talk about the theme. Then you brought the evaluator on, and then you let the speaker start. So you warmed up the speaker. Fantastic. Good transition, good engagement. You specifically asked me to observe your Zoom presence, which is camera framing, posture, facial expression, and eye contact. The blue background is really good. I noticed that there was no competition between you and the background. So that was well done. You position the camera 3/4 of the way where you fill 3/4 of the screen with your face, your head, and your body. That's good. One little thing, I think you were looking at the audience on the screen. You should have spent a bit more time looking at the camera itself so we could have that direct eye contact like what I'm doing now. That's just a minor thing. I was looking for that. Joyce, as a result of your hard work and preparation and dynamic leadership, you prepared the crew for this journey. And as a result, we had smooth sailing. I would recommend that you use more hand gestures to complement your dynamic leadership so that we could see our journey sometimes through your hands as well as your wonderful Zoom presence. And overall, I would say no storm is going to stop your ship, Captain Joyce. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony, for that feedback. I was listening to you when you're telling Joyce about using gestures. And the first thing that came to mind was, yes, your body speaks, your voice speaks, and this speaks for impact. You asked us to check if you give constructive feedback. And yes, you did.
Your audio is not very clear, Wahiga.
Maybe contentious, I'm at 100%. Let me know if I'm clear. I can switch off my video so that you can hear my voice if I am not impactful as we continue. So back to me, Joyce, and it's clearly connected. And today's evaluation was based on her expectation of playing the role, which came through very well. Moving on to the other evaluator, who is our third evaluator. Evaluator for the educational speaker. And our evaluator today is one DTM Rosie Rana, who is evaluating Irene Sadia. And her view of what leading with influence is one is to foster trust, because where there's trust, where there are relationships, and those relationships are authentic, there can be genuine engagement. And that's her approach to creating collaborative workspaces. Over to you, Rosie Rana.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Irene. Thank you so much for delivering this thought-provoking keynote entitled Leading with Influence. Right from the beginning, you captivated and captured our attention with that powerful question: if your title disappeared today, would people still choose to follow you? I mean, this got us to, in that one sentence, you invited us to reflect upon our own leadership. I commend the structure that you followed. Your entire keynote presentation revolved around your experience, starting from getting a position of authority and believing that you, or being guided that you had to be the boss and be authoritative, and then going to the transformation, and then you closed bringing the same, I mean, you came full circle, bringing the same question to us again, as in, if your title was taken away from you, would people still choose to follow you? I thought that was really, really, really beautifully done, because you continued peppering many, many lessons along the way. And those lessons came very naturally rather than in a tell manner. They came from you. It was authentic. I appreciated through the beginning the vulnerability that you showed, how you were, thinking you had to be authoritative and the negatives about it. And you used powerful language, how authority was stealing connection from you, how that realization hurt. I mean, we could feel the pain, we could feel those words were very, very powerful. And when you were told you are the boss, a simple statement, but through that simple statement, it shaped your early leadership and it kind of kept us tuned to the transformation. Wahiga, so Irene, Wahiga, I was referring to you as G. Irene, I also liked how you brought in your father, your role model, your mentor of an influential leader, because he came in naturally, and through him, you shared lessons of a leader who influences by being silent, gets surrounded, who doesn't belittle, who doesn't suppress people. And I think that was, that whole style worked really, really well. Your message was clear, congruent, consistent, and you sustained it throughout. If I could offer one suggestion, because you had such beautiful lessons, such a beautiful keynote, such beautiful experience, my concern was throughout your tone remained somewhat melancholic and sad. I don't quite know why. This was appropriate for the first part, maybe because of the painful realization and everything. But I wanted to hear and see the transformation when you became that influential leader, and then conversations became lively. There was collaboration, there was energy. I wanted to see and hear that energy. Allow yourself to smile, let your voice become lighter, become a bit more animated, and that will truly, truly elevate your speaking and take your message. It is such a powerful message, but I will hit home even stronger. But all in all, thank you for reminding us, giving us so many lessons, and being an influencing leader yourself, showing us how to value, and you valued us. Thank you, and back to you, Madam GE.
Thank you, Rosie. You had asked us to check whether you're authentic in your speech, and I think you also got an authentic speaker. So I think you just kind of you work with each other on the journey of authenticity. And giving feedback is one of your strong points. You actually get lost into it. You get lost into dissecting each aspect of the speech, even to start a time, which I think sometimes I wonder whether it's what we should chase, so we should just allow you to finish what you're saying. But great feedback right there, and I concur with you with areas of improvement for facial expressions for Irene. And yes, how to get the crowd with herself, especially in moments of victory, moments of change. So well done, Rosie, and thank you for that feedback. We have the next evaluator for our first speaker today, Rashmi. It's Rashmi, and she on what she thinks about keeping the influence. And to Hannah, if you can inspire, motivate, and guide your members, you are leading influence and credibility, and they will achieve their goals. Hannah, over to you.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and Rashmi. Rashmi, you clearly understood and identified the distinctions and selected your 3 preferred style of communication. Well done. Going beyond one voice to adapt to the situation. What's in it for me or for the audience? You learned how to tailor your communication styles to suit the various situations, and you have recognized how this project relates to your life outside of Toastmasters, particularly in your roles as the educator, the mentor, and in the financial industry. Being direct and dominant, assertive, help you establish your club in Tanzania, significantly increasing membership and increasing your meeting time to 2.5 hours. And you also benefited you as president in your club there. That is being focused, conscientious, and confident. As an educator and mentor, you adopted initiating and supportive communication approach to capture your children's attention and assist your mentors in reaching a higher level by setting goals, being innovative, and most of all, cooperative. And in your 3rd style of communication, you made it clear that a different communication style would be better meet your expectations, being analytical in your financial career to become results-oriented, disciplined in having the correct results at the end of the fiscal year. No communication style is fundamentally right or wrong. As you clearly ended your speech with a call to action, what is the situation? Then adapt to it. Every situation has its value and should suit the situation, and you selected and adjusted your communication style to fit your situations. I have a challenge for you. You delivered your speech so confidently, clearly showing its impact on your personal and professional relationship. But I challenge you to incorporate some more vocal variety, using pauses and volume to adjust to achieve the perfection. Offering a brief explanation on how you use these communication styles would have enhanced this exemplary speech. Beyond one voice, that was a very appropriate title. Rashmi, you delivered an outstanding speech and your communication styles, and I look forward to your next presentation in this exciting journey or in this exciting path called Presentation Mastery. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you for that feedback. You, of course, have great vocal variety, especially when you emphasize on a point. Great analysis of the speech that Rashmi gave, and a great affirmation too to her communication style, because there's no perfect communication style. It's the one that fits the situation. And good feedback to her. I think this was a good evaluation. You were saying you're improving on your evaluation skills. And I saw it. I think I have listened to you today, and you're quite critical in what you brought out. You were listening and you could bring that out. So I bet you're on that journey, and the journey is going well. Moving on to the next evaluator. The evaluator for our second speaker is Guerdah Felix. Guerdah is evaluating Hmok, and Guerdah feels influence, whether good or bad, is the basis of leadership. I think if I had time, I would want to have a conversation around that at some point so that she can tell us how the bad influence is still a basis
of leadership. But for now, I let her evaluate Helene. Over to you, Gilda.
Thank you, General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests, and especially Helene. Your speech was thoughtfully organized and easy to follow. An introduction that grabbed my attention, an in-depth development, and a conclusion to bring our attention to what is important. I appreciated how you presented both sides of mentoring by sharing two contracting managers, one who perhaps unintentionally limited your growth and another who encouraged you to move forward. Those real-life examples made the message authentic and relatable. I have two recommendations. One way to make your delivery even stronger is to continue refining your intonation. Your words were easy to understand. And as you develop greater variation in the natural rhythm and melody of English, you will connect even more deeply with the emotions behind your story. My second recommendation, your conclusion. Your conclusion that the first person we need to understand is ourselves was a meaningful takeaway. One thought to make an already strong ending even more memorable would be to leave the audience with the question that you posed. Who are you becoming and who is helping you become that person? Period. No need to ask to say more, because this question invites to reflection. Now, overall, you delivered your project with confidence, clarity, and sincerity. You not only explained what mentoring is, but you also illustrated the profound influence a mentor can have on our own personal growth. Well-constructed content and effective delivery of your speech. Captivated, I was. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thanks, Guerdah. Yes, you were captivated. The passion in which you delivered your evaluation, definitely know where it stems from. Great evaluation. And I think one of the strengths you have, Guerdah, that I need to mention is your tone and affirming voice. You know, you can easily convince somebody to get that dose of injection and they happily get to it because you will back it up and you'll be smiling and they will think it's the best thing to do. But all in all, great feedback, and I think Helene would be beneficial to take that feedback. Moving on to the evaluator for that speaker was Gilda Shlah. She got baptized earlier, that was the benefit of coming in earlier, but let's call her Gilda for now. And her evaluator is Sonia Medel. Sonia comes from France, and on the theme today, she says, leading with influence means inspiring and motivating others through trust, communication, and example, rather than simply relying on authority or position. Sonia, over to you.
Thank you so much, General Evaluator Wahiga. Can you all hear me clearly? Thank you. Gilda, you started with a powerful opening reminding us all of the importance of reflection, which every influential leader must do from time to time. Because ultimately, it leads to innovation. You continued with a very well-organized speech, starting with introducing with the details of the new role of the presiding Toastmaster. This role holds the frame of each meeting, and you explained the responsibilities from serving to connecting, with the goal of becoming a self-directed leader. You continued with laying out the purpose of the presidential committee and the importance of in the purpose of it, which is to prepare the future leaders already 1 year ahead, which was set later on. It's very unique and not very rarely found in other organizations. You clearly answered each of the questions that were raised, and you added your own personal insights, and you connected beautifully with each of us when you were sharing how nervous you felt taking on that challenge the first time yourself. You gave a valuable insight of the inner workings of this club, this very special club, which is one of the best advanced clubs worldwide for that reason. As we have witnessed, so with your inspiration, with your invitation to join the committee and to take on the role, you inspired us, and we have heard it from the feedback. And you clearly achieved your objective of persuasive influence. Some points of suggestions and improvements that come to mind. Since your speech was already around 8 minutes, maybe you want to shorten the details or the list of basically the responsibilities that you told us about the presiding Toastmaster. Shorten that, and maybe laying out the skills that each member can gain by taking on that role or by being part of the presidential committee, and the great value they can give it at each workplace. And there was some background noise. I don't know, was it via Zoom, but maybe that can be reduced next time as well. But overall, it was a very clearly and very organized speech that you presented with great confidence. Looking forward to your next project. Thank you, Gilda.
Thanks, Sonia, for that feedback. Was constructive, like you had requested me to check. You gave actionable, practical areas of improvement. What I would ask you to consider is, at some point, I don't know whether you were nervous or you were missing out on a point, you were cuddling your neck from different parts. And that could mean that either you're adjusting your chain or there's a part you press that reminds you to be gets you back to a main point. But yes, it could come through as nervousness, and it would impact differently on you. But great feedback to Gilda, and constructive. And I think that it will be of value to her when she's moving on to her next speech. Moving on to our final evaluator, not the least, just the number, Kanav Hurria, who is evaluating Nthati, Mokhantso. Kanav, yes, highlight Kanav. You know, Kanav believes that leadership, leading with influence, is how well I lost it. But yes, what he mentioned earlier today is that leading with influence is knowing where you're going and connecting with people for people to believe in you as you guide them to where they're going. Kanav Hurria, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Toastmaster Wahiga. As a lawyer myself, I know the importance of single words. My target speaker talked about that. A single word can be really painful if left out or if written wrongly. So the clear message and the objective of the speech was to connect with audience and telling something which audience does not know. Going into legality, that was really good. So the objective of the speech was met. Starting with the thing, imagine. Wonderful. Imagine you are in a room and 50 millions are there. So that is captivating for any audience. So starting with imagine is really great. And then ending with the same, that I'm back to the room. You have to make sure that the word is used right. So starting and ending was really great. Now coming to certain points which can improve. First is time management. She took 9 minutes. So for effective time management, you need to get the essence of the speech you want to give. If you want to talk about the importance of words, you are talking about importance of words. Anything except that is not useful for the speech. So adding certain things like section 217 can be apart from that. The constitution, goods and service cost effective, that's the duty that imposed that certain things can be avoided. Second, you were standing at a still at one position. You could have a little bit of movement, though the speech did not require much, but having a bit of change in voice and a little bit of voice modulation could have made a much better impact. And overall, I really loved the speech as it was started with a clear imagine question. So we went to imagine what will happen, and we ended with the clear lesson that if you have a grammar mistake, if you have any mistake, take it clearly. Do not let one word describe you. So you have to make sure that word is correct. That was the clear message, and that's it from my side. Back to the general ballot.
Thanks, Kanav, for that feedback to Nthati. You highlighted several areas that she did well and several areas she needs to improve. My challenge to you when giving feedback is you're not only giving Nthati the feedback, you're also teaching us as the audience in this room. So one way to do that is to have an impact. For example, if if you talk about a strong points, what's the impact of that strong point to her speech? Because somebody else doing another speech will know that. If you talk about areas of improvement, this wasn't done right, what was the impact? That way, you also teach the audience. And if somebody is giving a speech, they know what to avoid or what to include in the speech. All in all, great evaluation to Nthati. We come to the end of the evaluation session from all prepared speeches from our Toastmasters. And at this point, I want to ask the timer to put the timing for the evaluators in the chat. And I also want to ask the grammarian to share with us her report. Over to you, Rosanna.
Madam GE, fellow Toastmasters, today was a pleasure to listen as grammarian because I had the opportunity not just to hear out for the word of the day, but beautiful use of language. So I'll start by congratulating the many speakers who used the word captivate. And I may have missed some of you, but even before the main meeting started, there was Brahm, Hannah, Joyce, Irene, Wahiga, Tony, Paramjit, I think Guerdah, Kanav. I mean, so many of you, so congratulations. And then excellent examples of effective language. Well, we had triads, which is the rule of three, when you group ideas that make them into three, making them more memorable. For example, the most influential leaders inspire, build trust, and help others. We lead, we connect, we innovate. It was the other way around. Then other figurative language is rhetorical questions, a question that provokes thought. I already referred to, if your title disappeared today, would people still follow you? Have you ever worked for someone who was always right? Have you been that person? What is the presidential role about? Is it an add-on? These questions immediately engage and invite personal reflection. We had many, many contrasts, but I'll just give a couple where you have two ideas that are opposing, but they highlight a message. For example, leaders don't make you smaller, they leave you feeling stronger. Or influence is never demanded, it is deposited. I really liked that. Metaphors, which is, associating something with what it's not, I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. I think this, magnifies the feeling. I can see my yellow, so let me go to a few areas we could get better at. Although I do want to first point out some vivid language. You positioned yourself as a captain leading the ship safely to the dock. No storm will stop your ship. Loved that, Tony. Areas for improvement. Okay, very wonderful. Very is redundant because wonderful is already expressing a high degree, so it's simply wonderful. I had a question. When you're referring to now, then I have a question. You will be put into practice should be you will get to practice, or you will have the opportunity to practice. Rather than to make our vision reality, it should be to realize our vision. Now that I have the red showing up, I once again commend Leadership Speak, because generally we have fantastic language. There are areas we can get better, but we just go from strength to strength. Thank you very much, and back to you, G.
Thanks, Rosie, on executing your role for grammarian. You had two roles today, and you have executed them, both of them, with finesse. And of course, you are listening, because the feedback you gave showed that you are with every speaker, with every word that they put across there. You are time conscious, but definitely you ran into time. So I think maybe just do Rosie and we don't overthink time. And I don't know at what point your background changed to Elevate. When you showed us the first one, it was Captivate. So just be conscious. I think we still have some more time. You can check your background. We still have more time to use the word Captivate. And yes, thanks for your service today as a grammarian too.
Yikes.
At this point, okay. At this point, I want to ask I want to ask the Zoom master to put the evaluation vote poll. Let's vote for the better evaluator. Okay, as I wait for the Zoom master, yeah, there goes the poll. Okay, as we wait for the poll to end, I can go on with my evaluation for the day. We still have room to use the word captivate. And looking at the theme of the day today, lead with influence. And it talks to a leader who captivates people, to follow rather than just issue command. Great session today, from a well-prepared meeting, right from the presiding officer who showed up in time to start off the meeting. We had a lot of fun at the beginning when we started off the meeting. People showed up at 4. 4 o'clock. That's Kenya time. That's 9 p.m. EDT. And yes, we had fun and connecting with each other, and that was a good session by the presiding officer. And moving on, the meeting was well led. There was a good flow of each session, both from the Toastmaster of the day and from the presiding officer. I also want to congratulate our timer NSK. He's one of the newest members, and the flow of the cards was on point and helped us manage our time. I don't know whether we have totally ignored the red card, but I think it's a point of concern for all speakers today. Not all of them, but majority of them went past the red card. For us to be time conscious in future and for us to be able to keep time within the confinement of what we've said, let's be conscious to make our speeches align with our timing. And I know I have mentioned earlier that there are people who time just disappears, but I think I'm saying this for us to be conscious. When we are conscious, then we do it with that in mind. One thing I also want to comment was the turnout for the practice session. We had a very good turnout for the practice session, which shows commitment for us to get things right. I said earlier, we are checking how we are translating our assignments, our roles, and how we are executing. And when you see a good turnout for the practice session, it shows the commitment to get things right and to execute them well. And one of the things, great speeches given, and one of them, which I want to highlight because it affects how the future meetings run, was a speech about the new role, the presiding Toastmaster role. And well presented, good timing at the beginning of a Toastmaster year, so that as we roll with it, we have an understanding of what is expected of us. Should each one of us take up the role? What's the mandate? How do we pray along with it? So I think I commend that speech by Gilda given today. Alongside all the other speeches, they were great speeches and they were inspiring, and they were a reason that we showed up today for this session. Now, one thing I want to remind us is reporting time, especially for role takers and speakers. And the norm is to be in the room by 15 minutes before the meeting starts. So let's abide to that. I would also want all the people, the leaders leading the meeting, to lead by example. You know, at some point I was looking for Joyce Kibe. And that's the only point of correction for Joyce. Otherwise, you read a powerful, powerful meeting. You are well prepared. And I would just echo what Tony said, that you set the tone from the word-go, ensured everybody was on track, ensured everybody connected, every speaker connected with their trainers and role takers and their evaluators, and you've delivered a well-run meeting. All in all, great meeting. I have had fun. Looking forward to another meeting like this. And back to you, presiding Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Charge General Evaluator Wahiga Gichinga. Now that the evaluation portion is done, I hope everyone's ready for our best effort speaker and our best effort evaluators. So it's time to celebrate the stars of today's meeting, the ones who went above and beyond and truly lead with excellence. So our best effort speaker is, I would like the PR master to share the certificates. While we are waiting for, oh, here it is. Irene Sadia. Thank you so much. And for our Thank you so much, Prayer Master. Congratulations, Irene. And for our best effort evaluator, we have Guerdah Felix. Congratulations, Guerdah. Congratulations. A huge round of applause to our awardees. You inspired us all today and reminded us that growth isn't just about showing up, but also stepping up. And of course, special shout out to our PR master, Miriam, for managing the voting process behind the scenes. Thank you so much. So, having that, I will now turn my attention to our guest. I would like to talk to you. I would like to call on first Lydia Nyofio. Are you available, Lydia?
Yes, I'm available, Nelly.
Thank you so much.
I
May I
have,
request
yes,
our
go
Skill
ahead.
Master to highlight Lydia? Hi, Lydia.
Hi. Okay. I have enjoyed the meeting today, and I have learned so much from each of the speakers, and the evaluations were top notch. And I hope to visit the club again. And thank you for the invite and allowing me to join and listen in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lydia. So, okay, now, are you ready to be a member of Leadership Speak?
Not yet, but as soon as I do most of my pathways, because I saw that you have to have gone to a certain level to join, I definitely will.
Sure, Lydia. So, once you have achieved 3 pathways, of course, you can be a member of Leadership Speak. So, looking forward to that, Lydia. Glad to have you back on our meetings and as a member in our club soon. And so next I would also encourage you to fill in the guest book. Thank you so much. I would like to call on our next guest, Hillary Chariot. Hillary, thank you for joining us. Hi, Hillary. Are you available to talk? I think Hillary is a bit occupied, but so for now, we'll move on to read. Oh. Okay. So for now, I don't see any more guests that was present. I would like to call on our new members of the club, NSK. Hi, N. How are you today? How's your experience being the timer today's meeting?
Thank you very much. Audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. It's a great experience. This is my first role in Leadership Speak, so I thought to start with timer role. However, I was just on time. It's at the exact start of the meeting because I was not sure that we would be starting earlier itself. From next time onwards, I will join 15 minutes earlier than the starting point of the meeting. And I really like the evaluations. Of course, I like the speeches too, but evaluations are like the breakfast of the champions, they say. So evaluations play a key role in our evolution. And today's evaluations will definitely help the speakers to evolve into better speakers. And I like that. Soon, I'm looking forward to deliver my first speech in coming.
Thank you so much, N. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like also to extend a very warm welcome if you are seeing this in the live streaming to our guest, Bianca, Daniel, Arda, Hillary, Cherry, Lydia, Mamo Tracy, Cheryl, Osco, Chodoros, Vanessa, and Bomboti. We're very grateful that you chose to spend your time with us today, and we hope to see you again very soon. And so, fellow Toastmaster, let us now continue with our meeting as we move on to our thought of the day. Our meeting theme today is Lead with Influence. And as I listened to today's speeches and evaluation, one question came to my mind. What kind of influence am I leaving? Not how many people listen to me, not what position I hold, but whether my words, my action, and my example inspire others to become better self-directed leaders. Because influence isn't something we're given, it's something we earn. Authority may ask people to follow, influence makes them want to follow. One idea from today's meeting that really stayed with me was that leadership endures when people follow because they believe in the leader and the purpose, not because they're required to. And that means every interaction matters. Every promise to keep builds trust. Every act of kindness builds credibility. Every time we lead with integrity, we strengthen our influence. The truth is, we don't have to wait until we are a manager or a president or a CEO to become influential. We already influence our families, our friends, our colleagues, our communities. In fact, some of the most influential leaders are those who never sought recognition. They simply choose to lead by example. So before we ask, how can I get people to follow me? Perhaps we should first ask ourselves, am I becoming someone worth following? And I'll leave you with one final question to reflect on this week. What one question can you take today that will strengthen someone's trust in you tomorrow? Because true leadership is never measured by the title we hold. It is always measured by the lives we touch, the trust we build, and the influence we leave behind. So as we come to close today's meeting, I truly want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who made this gathering truly meaningful, to our members and guests from all over the world, to our speakers, evaluators, role takers. Thank you for your dedication and excellence. Today, through our meeting theme, Lead with Influence, we are reminded that leadership is not about the position, but about the impact we leave to others. Lead, again, like the TMOD said, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Indeed, influence is not demanded, it is earned. And it is earned through integrity, through consistency, and through serving others before ourselves. Also, through becoming the kind of person others trust and choose to follow. So before we officially conclude, I'd like to invite everyone to join us again next Saturday, July the 1st, as we explore another exciting leadership journey through our next meeting theme, Leading Beyond Management. So together, we'll discover that while management helps things run efficiently, leadership inspires people to grow, innovate, and achieve vision. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining us today on behalf of the Leadership Speak. Toastmasters Club. It's been my honor and privilege to serve as your presiding Toastmaster, and I now declare this meeting officially adjourned. Zoom Master, please stop the recording and end the video live stream. Until we meet again, everyone, leadership is not influence, nothing more, nothing less. Have a wonderful day.